Hello and welcome to Conversations in Close Protection with your hosts Chuck Randolph and Chris Story. Our goal is to engage the greater protection community, inspire innovative thought, and as always, continue the conversation around all things close protection. Let's see what the guys are talking about this time.
Good evening on this special Conversations in Close Protection. My name is the old warhorse, Chuck Randolph. Across the digital divide is the doyen himself, Mr. Chris Story. Sarge, how you doing?
Doyen, that sounds pretty badass. How you doing? I'm good. How are you?
Dude, I am doing well on this pre-Veterans Day. Thank you for your service, by the way.
My pleasure. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, we thought since the close protection industry, the military and service feeds into the close protection industry. So we wanted to make sure we came on and gave a quick shout out to all the veterans and people that have served in that capacity. And Chris, what do we know about, say, the difference between Veterans Day and Memorial Day?
So Veterans Day is to honor all veterans living, right? Usually living, but can be used as dead. And then Memorial Day honors all of those folks who have lost their lives in service to our country, and we remember them and their sacrifice and celebrate those lives. And that would be the difference.
Chris, you know that Veterans Day started just at the end of World War I on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918. It was the, what was that, the German Armistice?
Yeah. Interesting that somebody chose that, right? The 11,
Yeah.
11, 11, 11.
Yeah,
Kind of cool.
It's very cool. And you think like just in, the idea is to honor, like you said, all veterans alive and or dead who have served in some capacity and are considered veteran status. And just like yourself, you've been involved in private military contracting, bodyguarding, close protection, executive protection, all the different slices or segments. And you meet a lot of veterans. Not all of them are U.S. veterans, but we meet a lot of veterans from around the world that are drawn to this industry. What is it about the military, and if you will, Chris, the calling from the military in your mind that brings people over to the protective side of the house?
I think it just sums it up, or to sum it up, it's all about service, right? I mean, you at one point decide to serve your nation, and then that outplays itself or runs its course or whatever the case is, and you still have a calling to serve. So focus on either serving your community or serving those in it. And I think really that's what it is and what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's that idea. I mean, we were talking before we hit record that you raise your right hand and at that moment you make a commitment to something greater than yourself. Often you stay in because of your sisters and brothers that are in the foxhole with you, but that moment that you decide to go in, you definitely internally make this commitment to, like, shall we say, duty, honor, country.
Yeah, I mean, so duty, honor, country, and that part, you find something to replace that last piece. I mean, you've done your time, you've served your country, whether it was 2 years or 32 or 42, and then you look for that next calling, right? Maybe it's not as rigorous, or maybe not whatever, but a lot of people are called to serve. And if you look at law enforcement, right? There's a lot of veterans in the law enforcement ranks because they want to serve their community. So as a protector, you might serve your your country as a contractor, your local community as a security practitioner for their CEO or their organization. And again, it's just another way to serve, and it's also another way to use skills that you or some of the skills you may have gleaned in some way, shape, or form from your military service. I think the career offers a fantastic opportunity to do so.
Yeah, it does come with some, there are some blind spots, and like you said, that it's that last piece, duty, honor, and then country. If you're making the transition from, say, duty, honor, country to duty, honor, company, or duty, honor, contract, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to. It's not a slippery slope, but I mean, it can be a bit of a, of a morale or a moral or a value hit that you have to come to grips with when you're replacing that last C or that last value. And we've had folks on the show that have talked about that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would say duty, honor, contract. I don't necessarily know many people. I know some people who have said it, right? I'm just here for the contract, but a lot of people here, it's just another way to serve the country, as a contractor. Yeah. So I would, again, most of those people are quite patriotic and quite proud of that service as they're able to do so as both a member of the military and as a civilian, as a contractor. So I think those folks are very proud of what they've done. And then, finally, the last part is that, oftentimes you're doing great things as a young military person or as a contractor that you would never get the opportunity to do as a civilian, or it might take you, 20 years to accomplish. And I think that's another way and reason to celebrate veterans, because of all the great things that they did at a very, very young age.
One of my last things I did before I retired out of the military, I was fortunate enough to go to a course out at National Defense University. It was about command control, computers, intelligence, and infrastructure stuff. And we spent one day on a Coast Guard cutter, and you kind of see how the Coasties do their job, how they do C3I, how they stay in contact and all that. And then the following day, we went over to an aircraft carrier, which I've seen them, but I've never been on one. And it was amazing, and it was awe-inspiring to know that, like, this is force projection at scale. And we were standing on the bridge, getting the tour, and I was looking at the pilot wheel, if you will, and the whole apparatus that goes into managing that. And one of the guys walking us around was like, "What do you think about that, sir?" And I was like, "This is amazing. I appreciate you guys bringing us here. I'm grateful, and I've got a newfound respect for the Navy." And he said, a 19-year-old gets behind that and can pilot this thing. And that always kind of stuck with me as something, especially I think, thinking about this industry, moving over to this industry too, is people in the military. I mean, your task, a good friend of mine, a sergeant major, Ranger sergeant major, told me once, to whom much is given, much is expected. And I think sometimes it's lost on us, the amount of responsibility that are given to young soldiers, when they go in.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty impressive about what we tasked those folks to do, and you likely would never see that in the civilian space, right? At least I haven't seen it, right? So, 20, 21, 22 to 24-year-old soldiers responsible for up to 40 lives, training, equipment, et cetera. That's a responsibility we put on people, and it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I had a soldier that served with overseas, and they were a THT, which is a tactical human intelligence stuff. And they got out. They went to work for an intelligence contractor doing doing surveillance, counter surveillance kind of stuff. And talked to them one day. They had gone back to school, and I was like, "Well, how do you find it?" And they said, "It's hard. When I served, inside, I was responsible for managing high value assets, high value targets, targeting, intelligence, writing reports, briefing 2 or 3 levels higher than myself. And sometimes, outside, you just feel like, people look at you like, oh, you're just a 23-year-old. And,
right.
The point being, like, people people may not understand, and it's not like veterans walk around with it on their shoulders or in a, they're not carrying a sign around that says, hey, here's what I did. But, just kind of understanding like what that person might have, like you said, might have been responsible for.
Right. And I think that's what a lot of people struggle with as they separate is, I served a higher calling. I was responsible for so much more, and nobody knows how to understand that. And so here I am. I mean, and that could be a stark difference. One day, people read the president about, and the next day you're again, like you said, that young person was saying, is that look, I've briefed people through 2 or 3 levels above me, and now people don't understand, essentially my value, and that can be pretty hard to deal with. And I think that's what a lot of veterans deal with in transition.
And it's good. I think there's a lot of places now that are offering good mentoring services and helping folks do transition to understand, like, hey, how do you take and translate that I was managing high value assets and targets as a 23-year-old THT in Iraq or Afghanistan or Philippines or something, to now a job in corporate America doing protective intelligence or doing threat assessment or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the ability to trans. That service.
Yeah. Dude, we just had a huge break there on my side, so let's give it 3 so I have an edit spot.
Okay.
So one other thing we've been talking about on Veterans Day, Chris, is just all the cool ways that we honor veterans. I mean, again, it's not just, we've been at Warfighter since way before World War I, and as you and I were talking about before we hit record again, there's so many humbling stories of people and what they did when they served, and just all the high schools and the elementary schools and middle schools and the civic things we do to honor our veterans is humbling, isn't it?
I mean, that's used to be one of my favorite days when my kids were in elementary school. They did just this fantastic celebration of veterans, and you got to see all the veterans in the community that were invited and hear about their service and how proud they were of it, and it just gives you a lot, and how proud the community was of their service, and it just gives you a sense of pride that your community pushes to you rather than just maybe you or your fellow veterans slapping each other's backs and buying each other shots. It's very, very cool. Yeah,
absolutely. Hopefully this comes across. My stepdaughter Olivia, when she heard that we were going to do a special Veterans Day podcast, she asked if she could make a picture for us, and this is what she gave me a little while ago.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, look at that. So first off, I would say on behalf of veterans that I know, Olivia, thank you very much. That's very, very cool. Look at it. You got the eagle. You got a service member saluting, camouflage. You can't have a.
Yeah, absolutely.
Veterans Day picture has the salute of the hero has American flag written to it. So that's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, and of course the yellow ribbon to think about those that are overseas right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's interesting because sometimes, we as a nation are so focused on the everyday things that we forget that, we still have people deployed.
Yeah, and you know what, Chris, something else that you and I are both near and dear to in terms of helping and reaching out is, those folks that come back, and they might come back and they might be on their native soil, but they still might have wisps or elements of things still with them that they can't let go of. And it's important, not just on Veterans Day or not just in the month of November, but it's important to check on these folks a lot. Check on your comrades in arms, check on your brothers and your sisters in arms, and see how they're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I would say one of the biggest things is that you're not expected to fight by yourself. So why would you expect to fight whatever you bring home by yourself? Reach out if you're feeling like you're in a place you don't know what to do or where to turn or whatever. I mean, you got to tell people what's going on, and I think the most important thing about that is to tell people specifically where you're at. That's very big, because people have a hard time guessing. And I gotta be honest with you, I'm pretty sure that I've lost count of the amount of people that friends and colleagues that have lost due to them not knowing where to turn.
Yeah,
and
it's
not awesome.
We've had episodes, and we've talked about mindfulness and the idea of resilience and all that. And I'm with you. I've had soldiers and have had to go down and help take care of families and things when they couldn't figure out where to turn, and they couldn't figure out a way out, and there's just no need for that. And the same goes for the people in the industry too, or your friends and family. I mean, there's no need. 2020 is hard enough as it is, and then when you put on top of that other demons or things that you just can't quite figure out how to wrestle, just if you know someone, reach out. Or if you yourself are having some thoughts or some doubts or something, there's this idea of like every person is an island. That just isn't so when this is what's at stake.
Yeah, I would say that's probably old school thinking, right?
Yeah. I
mean, we have to understand that there's that, mental health is a thing, and we focus on our physical health, and you got to take care of the above the neck stuff as well. And again, you can't do it by yourself. And a lot of times, sometimes stress is like it's like a 450-pound bench press. Nobody can do that. Sometimes you need help to get it off the chest and to deal with it. And you shouldn't have to do that alone.
Yeah, and there's no need for it. And one thing, going back to veterans and veteran status, and again, as we said at the beginning of this, it's not just the U.S. We support and we honor all those that have served their country and served their calling. And it's amazing again how many people you meet and how you can use your military service as kind of a launching point, for communications. Sometimes you roll into a place like, say, the World Economic Forum, or maybe you've gone overseas, or you're in Africa, or you're down, you meet somebody like a Lee Otten down in Mexico, and you both have the ability to draw on those stories and those tales. And I would say there's an underlying culture that maybe begins with basic training in all military services of culture and martial value. And that's always been for me a source to kind of draw people together and to try to get us on the same page so we can work together, be it for an hour or be it for a couple of days or a couple of weeks.
Right. I mean, I think the camaraderie and kinship and just understanding where somebody's when they serve is a connection point that, transcends, internationalism and transcends nationalism, and you can really make it a connection point between you and whoever else, and it's a common operating ground, right? We've been there, we've chewed the same dirt, or at least we've been through the same hardships, and so we know what it's like. And I think that's a great point of connection for anybody and everybody. And so I think, while we celebrate Veterans Day, and I think the Brits just celebrated Remembrance Day a couple of days ago, it is something that's important to every nation. And so I think, as veterans, regardless of what country we serve for, we recognize all of them, really.
Yeah, absolutely. It's before anyone was SF, before anyone was a Navy SEAL, before anyone was SAS, before anyone was insert specialized service here. They were a basic trainee. Everyone started with the push-up, didn't they?
Yeah. Well,
So
maybe more than one, but yes.
absolutely. Well, let's raise our toast to veterans everywhere.
All right.
To you, sir, thank you for your service.
My pleasure. Chuck, thank you for yours.
And your support. Chris, any last words from your side before we move to close this special Veterans Day episode out?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say thank you to everyone who is serving now and who has served. I think across the board, yes, it is the U.S. is Veterans Day, but I would say that we have a kinship with all those who have served. So thank you for your service. Thanks for what you do. And to those who are serving now, thank you for carrying that torch. It's greatly appreciated, no matter where you are, what you're doing. We appreciate the fact that you are serving.
Amen. I'll read a quote from Sun Tzu, who said, "Regard your soldiers as your children, and they will follow you into the deepest valleys. Look on them as your own beloved sons, and they will stand by you even unto death." So with that, we say thank you for your service and your support to your country. Thank you for your support to each other in this great industry, and thank you for your support to Conversations in Close Protection. Chris, last words to you.
Good times. Good times.
This has been Conversations in Close Protection. I'm the Warhorse, Chuck Randolph, and across the digital divide is the Doyen, Mr. Chris Story. We thank you, and we honor you for your service.
You've been listening to an episode of Conversations in Close Protection. Email us at protectiontalk@outlook.com and find us on your preferred podcast platform. Please take a moment and consider rating us to help others find Conversations in Close Protection too. Look for us on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and other social media spots. Conversations in Close Protection is brought to you by your hosts Chuck Randolph and Chris Story. Our engineering editor is the mighty Aaron Peck. Please remember that all opinions expressed do not represent those of any organizations or companies the hosts are affiliated with. This is Rachel saying watch your six and keep your heads down.